100 feet above the cold North Atlantic, young cadets fight for a hold on a flogging sail. No safety strap protects them from a fall. In foul weather and fair, they learn to revel and toil. To learn the arts of seamen. To haul upon the braces and bawl the shanty songs. To live with danger and face up to fear and treat those two impostors just the same. And bring to that adventure the imagination and enthusiasm, the illusions of youth. Even now, in some places, young men and women can grasp that opportunity, take a voyage into the past, and chart a passage into their own future.
Isn't it beautiful? Now it's a full-rig ship.
This is the story of such a voyage. Built in 1932, the 196-foot Danmark is one of the great square-rig training ships of the world. Denmark's pride, she carries on a centuries-old sail training tradition. Danmark's 5-month voyage will take her across the Atlantic and back, and she will encounter the worst series of storms this ship has ever faced in over half a century of voyaging. Captain Fosshammer began his career aboard the Danmark as a cadet when he was 17. He is one of no more than a handful of men in Denmark who have the experience and skill to captain such a ship. Although he has sailed aboard her for 17 years, he still gets emotional as he anticipates the arrival of a new class of cadets.
Right now, it's an empty ship. But when the cadets come, it's like we are always nervous, excited, because this is the beginning of a new life for the cadets. They give the ship a soul.
There are 68 boys and 12 girls, ranging in age from 16 to 20. None has ever sailed on a square rigger before. They will be trained as seamen and officer candidates in the Danish Merchant Marine.
A captain is supposed to safeguard his cargo. And if I may call my cadets cargo, I have the most precious cargo in the whole world.
Boys and girls will share the same quarters. There is no room for bunks. They will have to learn to sleep in hammocks, and for some of them, that calls for quite an adjustment. For the cadets' first week, the ship remains at the dock, and they are plunged into an intensely different world where their individuality is taken away. They get uniforms for clothes, numbers for names. There is a Danmark look that does not include long hair. From now on, they will not be valued for their differences, but as cogs in a wheel. That wheel is duty to the ship.
Nobody looks happy about this. It's really a shame, but I guess
Inga Kielsum, number 9, is 19 years old. She is already dreaming of a career as mate in the Danish merchant marine.
Det at I skal ikke kline jer sådan ind, men I skal ud med røven.
The scariest thing cadets must learn is how to climb the masts, 13 stories tall. They are taught to move only one hand or 1 foot at a time. Hands must grip the big cable shrouds because the rope ratlins under their feet sometimes break.
I take the cadets up the first time because I can see in their eyes if they are afraid. And so I can help them.
Ja, kom så op. Stille og roligt.
Karen Cruzen, number 58, has always been afraid of heights. Besides, she isn't sure she has the strength in her arms to hold on. Since 1933, 2 cadets have fallen from the rigging to their deaths. Even when Karen finally gets out on the yardarm, that is not enough. There's work to be done. She can't just freeze.
I just stood there. My whole body shook. I couldn't do the work because I was so scared. I just hanged on. And they told me that if I didn't go, they would send me home. We just have to do it. Tomorrow I go. I just need to get used to it. It's very hard.
Og resten, det til få.
Sailing square-rigged ships is an archaic art, learned in former times from years of voyaging. These cadets must learn the essentials in just a few weeks. The cadets have to know how to find, very quickly, 237 different lines. Captain Fosshammer motors out to sea. He will train the cadets for 3 weeks in protected Danish waters before risking them and the ship in the stormy North Atlantic. It takes teamwork to hoist the upper yards and sails into place. The cadets can't follow orders because they don't know the names of the lines or where to find them. The captain and other officers have to point and push. Speed counts, and sometimes all available hands, even those on galley watch, are pressed into action. Somehow, the lower sails get set, and the grand old ship responds again to the wind's will. The cadets have a lot to learn before facing the storms of the North Atlantic. But for now, they must deal with a mass of tangled lines and their own confusion.
Crazy, nuts. Der går styr på anker.
At night, the ship drops anchor, so the worn-out cadets can get some sleep. A ship, a village of kindred souls. A bit of Denmark comes to rest like a seagull folding its wings for the night. 6:30 a.m. The quartermaster's shout splits the silence in the cadet quarters. His wake-up call, peppered with rough language, is just as well not translated.
I'm almost as tired in the morning as I am when I go to sleep at night.
I hope that this will stop one day.
It's hard to get up early in the morning, and then you have to work the whole day, and you only have half an hour to eat, and you have to do the whole thing, all the things very fast.
Each morning, the cadets face a daunting task. They must lash up their hammocks tighter than they have ever before tied up anything in their lives.
Because this is really hot so early in the morning.
Strict discipline and the hazing of young sailors is part of the tradition of the sea, and one of the quartermasters carries on that tradition with calculated zeal. If he can get his fingers under the lashing of the hammock and shake the rope loose, he makes the cadet tie it up all over again. Rules aboard a ship are often arbitrary, but an officer's orders cannot be questioned. That is a fact of shipboard life cadets have to learn to live with.
I don't think in the start of the trip, you don't should be too friendly with a cadet. You should have a big distance to them, so they don't get too close to you.
He is so mean, you don't even want to look at him. It's not only me, it's everybody. Actually, you hate him. I can't quit now, I know that, but 4 months with him is going to be very difficult, I think.
Each time the anchor is raised, a cadet must go down and attach a block and tackle to it so that it can be winched up to deck level. Fleming Duthrickson, number 69, the cadet chosen to go over the side, is just 16. But he is enamored with sailing ships and has been carving ship models since he was 8 years old. His hardest job, once the tackle is attached, is to climb back up to the deck. If he falls and hits the anchor, he could break bones.
I was really nervous, a lot, and because I was close to falling in the water, but I did it, and I'm happy. It's a really hard job. I'm happy that I'm not going to do this every day. The officers say that I'm going to do it again. Of course I will, because it's exciting. I like it.
After 34 days, Denmark sets sail to cross the Atlantic. 27 sails, thousands of feet of cable and rope. Her hold full of food and supply. A fragment of Denmark, she advances like a small planet in her own orbit. Eugene O'Neill wrote, "I lay on the bowsprit with water foaming into spume under me, with every sail towering high above me. I became drunk with the beauty, and for a moment actually lost my life. I dissolved in the sea, became white sails and flying spray. I belonged to something greater than my own life, or life itself." But for some of the cadets who are seasick and homesick, voyaging in the open ocean is hard. Some are thinking about dropping out when the ship arrives in the Faroe Islands.
I'm very, very seasick now. I just want to go home and stay home the rest of my life.
I don't know what they think of the students if we're a group of animals or something. And I'm cold, it's windy, and I have a headache. It's killing me now, but I would love to get a whole night's sleep. That would be great.
Annis Hilker, number 65, is constantly seasick. He wasn't eager to come on this trip, but boys in his family are expected to go to sea. His father and grandfather are captains. He has decided to tell Captain Fosshammer he wants to quit.
Some of the cadets, they are not seasick and they can eat and they begin to love it out here, and I just hate it out here. My grandfather is very proud of me. I don't know how to tell my grandfather it's not me. I'm not a sailor.
When I tell him he's already have been here for 5 weeks, he say to me, he feel like a year. Oh, okay, so I must start at the beginning. We will put him in some special jobs with his best friend, and here he shall work, really work, so he won't have time to think about seasick.
The ship has sailed 800 miles to the Faroe Islands near the Arctic Circle. The cadets get a chance to explore a severe and strangely beautiful land. Before the ship sets sail again, the captain has to deal with yet another very dispirited cadet. Number 29 is determined to go home.
I'm afraid of heights, and then I talked to the captain, and he said, climb or I'll leave. In 17 years, I've been afraid of heights, and I can't just forget it.
I try to explain to him all that he will miss, but he still wants to go. I feel sad. I feel I have failed. It's just something. But in all the sadness, I'm very glad that 65, he decided to stay. Now he is eating, he is smiling, and That's just great.
I've changed my mind, and I want to stay on the ship, and the captain has been very nice to me, and now I want to stay.
As the ship creeps across the North Atlantic, watchful eyes never sleep. The bow watch calls aft to report sightings. Deep in the bowels of the ship, a cadet is always on engine watch. Ship's bells are struck every half hour. The day begins at 3 a.m. when the baker and his cadet helpers arrive in the galley, where each day they bake 10 loaves of white bread, 14 loaves of brown bread, and 10 dozen pastries. Danish pastries, of course. Dawn. The cadets nickname the ship Danwash. 6:30. The rest of the cadets fall out. 5 hours a day, they study all kinds of subjects. Rope splicing, navigation, CPR, and there's always repair work on the ship. Shrouds are tarred. A quartermaster climbs out on the top gallant yard to retie the end of a sail. On deck, there's chipping rust, scraping,
Oops.
some inexpert seam clearing. The doctor believes that it is less painful to sew up a flesh wound on the thumb without the use of anesthetic. Midday, the cadets are fed in 2 shifts. Afterward, they have a half hour to themselves. Fleming, the model maker, has started a model of the Danmark. And of course, the ship has to be sailed. When the officers aren't watching, teenagers will always find a way to replace work with play.
One, two, three. Shall we do it again? Yeah.
She's reading pornography.
A glassy sea gives seamen a sense of foreboding. John Masefield wrote, "Peering down into the water, one saw a dim, smooth glitter, heaving and dying away like the march of doom." Near Iceland, the weather closes in. Three hurricanes sweep across the Atlantic toward the ship. One of them comes right up the route the Danmark must take.
We have now received the latest weather map, and it shows that a new hurricane are coming up very close.
Here is where the hurricane is now, moving to the northeast. More gales here. Here we are right now, and we don't have much choice but head right into the gales.
I'm gonna survive. I'll get my sea legs sooner or later.
Inga is sick again. But when the royal sail, the highest sail on the mainmast, starts to blow loose, she and another cadet volunteer to go up.
I asked her whether she was, she thought she was capable to do it. I don't want to send anybody up who's afraid to do it.
They fight to hold the sail. Her partner goes down for more rope, and Inga is left alone to hold on to the sail and onto the yard as it swings through a huge arc.
We knew if we didn't keep a very good grab on the rigging, then we would just be plumbing into the seas. Once I looked down, I felt I shouldn't do that because that would make me really seasick. So I just looked out into the far distance.
Many of the other guys said it was very great that she go up because she was sick. I think it was very great.
Showed that you really have got some will and some strength, that you're not scared, or that you overcome that you're scared. You're pushing some limits.
There are lessons to be learned about dealing with the implacable sea, and lessons to be learned about oneself. Sailing on the Danmark, Inga seems to have learned both. As Denmark sails on, it blows even harder. A cautious captain remembers well that a number of sail-training vessels have sunk in sudden squalls. It was a terrible catastrophe when, in 1928, the training ship Kubenhavn, with 200 cadets aboard, was lost with all hands. There's an old saying, one hand for the ship, one hand for yourself. But the nautical Nick who made up that saying must never have fisted a square sail in a gale. One last line to secure, and then the cadets can retreat to the safety of the forecastle. But all hands are safe, and the captain can relax just a little.
At the moment we have 50 knots wind speed, and now we wait. So we will just hold the bow up to the wind and try to stay here.
Three gales stymie the ship as she crosses the Atlantic. And then, finally, a glimmer of sunlight. When they leave the Denmark, most of the cadets will sail on container ships and tankers. But the model builder has other plans.
When I'm thinking about my future, I think I would like to be on a ship like this. I hope I can come back, but I don't know when or how.
42 days after leaving Denmark, the ship nears New London, Connecticut, home of the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. In World War II, when the Nazis invaded Denmark, the ship Danmark was in U.S. waters. During the war, she flew the U.S. flag and trained 5,000 U.S. Coast Guard officers. So Denmark gets a first-class reception.
days ago, there's absolutely nothing but water. And now we got boats, airplanes, helicopters, and people all over. It's gonna be good.
It's American. Nothing else. It's just American.
Forget the grandeur of raging seas and the glamour of crewing on a full-rigged ship. Home is where the heart lives.
My mother just got married, and I'm so happy for her.
Coast Guard cadets come down to the ship to invite the Danes ashore. Of course, the Danish cadets are introduced to American football. There's hijinks in the stands, but the explanation of the rules of the game loses something in the translation.
So wherever you see the ball, someone's going to run around and try to catch it so they can run to the end, and that's how you get points, okay?
Yeah.
So just look for the ball, and then you can follow the game.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Danes do better at soccer, beating a pickup Coast Guard team. Then the Danes take some of the Coast Guard cadets for a short sail. One of the U.S. cadets gets a lesson in how to say bread in Danish.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Brød.
Wow.
And try to say brødgrød med fløde.
Oh, no. You're playing games with me, yeah.
In Danish, row, row, row your boat comes out fogelte, fogelte, fogelte.
We wouldn't sail out of here like this. Oy vey. Oh, whoa.
And on to New York.
I think she's pretty, but I thought she was bigger.
Okay, I didn't know she was green.
Denmark ties up at South Street Seaport. Then, the sights of New York, where, surprise, they find that they themselves are a tourist attraction.
This is your first voyage? Away from home? Very nice. Well, enjoy your stay, and good luck to you. You're a beautiful young man. Take care.
They discover the everyday circus in Central Park. And sometimes the entertainment comes to them. Almost 4,000 miles to Denmark and home.
It was great to get back on the sea. It's not a place for a seaman to be too long in harbor. And it's great to be back in some adventure, crossing the Atlantic to the Azores, so it's nice.
For a few days, the North Atlantic smiles, then resumes her more usual face.
Op i forbraserne! Bare på at sætte de braser bedst. Gå nu så fast, så går vi forbraserne! Sæt nu de braser fast!
The cadets are ordered aloft again to reduce sail. Fleming and his watch are in the thick of it.
And suddenly the wind blew up, and in 5 hours we had to take them all down, and it was very difficult. It was very hard. Maybe I'm not the youngest, but the next youngest cadet, and I have to prove that a boy who are only 16 years can do the same as one 21 years old. I can do the same. I like that.
I'm amazed so fast it can change. I mean, it's not more than 4 or 6 hours since we made 6 knots, and we all thought that we would be on the Azores maybe 5 days too early. And now it's like we just heaved to. It's amazing.
Hours pass, and the winds mount to hurricane force. For 34 hours, the storm rages, the longest storm in the captain's memory. Down below, life goes on. There are still 100 mouths to feed 3 times a day.
Saving the Caribbean with nice, blue, quiet water.
25-foot seas. The ship rolls 70 degrees from rail to rail. The mast tips swing through an arc of 135 feet. As the gale continues, sails begin to tear loose. The mate calls for volunteers. Inga and another cadet go up again. About such a storm, one great sailor wrote, "In the sailing of a big ship in foul weather, there is a remarkable force that makes ordinary men surpass themselves in feats of strength and daring. I believe they are in a sort of trance, or perhaps hypnotized by the extreme need of the ship. This is why steamship companies subsidize the training of cadets under sail. Here they learn to do for the ship as they never would under a power vessel. You might call it the religion of sail." Up in the forecastle, paint cans have spilled all over the deck. A dirty job, but the cadets can take it because they'll soon be rolling home. The Danmark enters warmer waters, and life is good. Not only for the cadets, but also for exhausted migrating birds. At the beginning of the voyage, Karen was so afraid of climbing aloft that she almost dropped out.
Yeah, I was scared, but I just get used to it. And because you have to climb up here so many times, you get used to it, and you do it because you have to. And then when it's beautiful weather and the sun is shining, and then it's nice up here, and you just, yeah, you look at the ocean, and yeah, it's just beautiful.
On the return voyage, a more relaxed discipline encourages the cadets to a limited show of individuality. It's November now, and cold. In the English Channel, gray seas turn green.
You can feel the difference. I mean, coming from the big ocean with the huge seas, and suddenly we are in the channel where you start seeing all the ships, and I believe I can smell that I'm getting close to my home waters.
The English Channel is crowded with ships bound for the great ports of Europe: Rotterdam, London, Hamburg. A night passage calls for special care. The officer on duty constantly watches the tracks of nearby ships on radar.
Sometimes I think in the old days I must have had a hard time passing an area like this.
When he sees a motor ship on a collision course, he plays a searchlight on Danmark's sails to alert the other ship that this is a sailing vessel under sail with right of way. 124 days from departure, the sun rises over Denmark. The English call it Elsinore, Hamlet's castle, but the Danes call it Kronborg. And Kronborg to starboard has always held a special meaning for them. Copenhagen and loved ones are just a few miles further on.
I've never been so strong before. I'd be able to carry almost everybody at home. The best things on this voyage has been when it really has been important that everybody gave themselves.
I'm proud to sail with the ship through these storms. It feels great to tell all about what happened, and it's making me proud. I think my father also is proud of me.
Hannes has reason to be proud. He was younger than most of the cadets, not strong, and wretchedly seasick for a long time. But from now on, whatever troubles he may encounter in life, he knows he has the will and the grit to survive.
Giver! Kan I have det godt? Fortsat. God vind. Alle ret efter aftrædning. Fald på kajen. Træd af.
Youth and adventure. Can anything in their lives ever burn so vividly in memory as these 5 months as minions of the sea? They have been granted the finest gift any such experience can bestow. They feel good about themselves. In the years to come, among family and friends, perhaps even with their own children, oh, what stories they have to tell.
It's sad because you have got nearly 100 new friends and you won't ever see them again. Of course, I will meet some of them again, I think, but it won't be the same. Here we are living together, we are sleeping together and eating together and everything. We are very close to each other. It's just finished. It's bad, but it is like that and you can't change it.